How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL video, and today we're going to be looking at Game Week 18 teams that you need to be looking out for going into your decision making for the free hit or even a wild card going into Game Week 18, Blank Game Week 18. We have two teams that are somewhat obvious, and we're going to be talking mainly about their assets in terms of how good they could potentially be, especially going forward, and even the fixtures they have afterwards. And then two teams that may be flying under the radar a little bit, that may be unearthing some gems if you do choose to go with some of their budget assets. If you haven't done so already, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. It greatly helps out the channel and helps it grow, as well as turn those notification bells on so that you can get great videos much like this one as soon as they are readily available. And also make sure to give us a follow over on Twitter and Twitch. It's PilotFlame226 on those platforms. You can keep up to date on all the different things that are going on over on Twitter, whether it be new video releases, predictions for the upcoming game week, or any changes that may have gone on for the schedule throughout the week. As well as, if you follow us over on Twitch, you can see when we do our live streams for our FPL previews, as well as deadline streams, which we will be doing one on Monday at 7 p.m. EST. So make sure to come check us out then. So without further ado, let's see what four teams we have for Game Week 18 that you should be looking at for your free hit. So the first team here is Manchester City, and they come as no surprise. The three players we have highlighted is Kevin De Bruyne, currently 11.7 million, João Cancelo at 5.7 million, as well as Ruben Diaz at 5.8 million. Now these are just some of the very few but wide range of selection that you can have in the Manchester City roster, even with them being hit by COVID, and even with them having some injuries here and there, or people missing out due to them being unfavored or what have you, such as Riyad Mahrez. Sometimes Sterling has been rotated in and out of the team. It's been a bit weird this season, but there are some players like John Stones who has emerged. He's at 5 million. You still have Aguero and Jesus who have to come back due to their respective times that they've been out. And City also have a great run of fixtures as well, with Brighton in the free hit week, the blank game week, where a lot of people were looking to free hit. And then they have a nice double versus Crystal Palace and Aston Villa. And then go on to have good fixtures all the way up until and including Game Week 23. And, I mean, City can beat anyone on their day, right? They're a team that, when they play up to their maximum potential, you get games like, you know, the 3-1 defeat that Chelsea suffered at Stamford Bridge. You get situations where they basically can dominate the ball and dominate the game like they did versus United in the Carabao Cup in midweek in their 2-0 victory. And they're just that good on their day. And they have a bunch of different ways in which they can play it. Right now, they've been utilizing basically like a 4-6-0 type system, with De Bruyne kind of being the false nine. Riyad Mahrez is gone in there. Phil Foden's even gone in there. And they've rotated around. And, you know, there's some names in there that wouldn't necessarily seem too obvious as potentially differential picks. But like İlkay Gündoğan has been scoring recently. Phil Foden has been scoring recently. Even Zinchenko's in the team due to the fact that Cancelo has had to swap over to right back because Walker has been out and Mendy is out of favor at left back. There's many different ways you can kind of look at it, but the three players that I'm kind of looking at and I think are going to be in most people's teams is going to be Cancelo, Diaz, and De Bruyne, with the exception of maybe Cancelo or Diaz being changed out for John Stones, who seems to be other solid center-back pairing alongside Diaz in their recent game weeks, and they've both been playing quite well. I mean, I watched them against Manchester United in the Carabao Cup, and they were fantastic. My two men of the matches were, couldn't really give it to either or of them. They were both so good, cutting off basically every cross. John Stones ended up scoring in the game, although it was quite fortunate. But still, City looked to be back on top and back at their best. And with them kind of prioritizing, you know, kind of more of, you know, let's get the 2-0, let's get the you know, the 3-0, not really the thrashings they were going for, you know, the 5-0, 6-0, 7-0. So they're content with just winning comfortably and winning like a complete game. And I think Guardiola's kind of recognized that over the, you know, last season, where they were conceding too many goals, and they know that they can score on their day. They know they can create chances, and they just have to basically put them away. And when they do, they can beat teams quite comfortably, and even the best of them. I don't think anyone can basically compete with Man City, not even Liverpool, who won the league last year. If City's on form, I think they are the best team in the Premier League, and I think you're definitely going to look for them for your, you know, your free hit team, as well as your wildcard teams, or just general players that you would like to transfer in, going all the way up until, you know, game weeks 23, 24. And even we might want them, to stay in our teams when there's, blanks and doubles in game weeks 26 onwards as well. So we'll have to see when that comes around. But let's see the other team that's probably quite obvious, and you probably know which part of the country it comes in. I'll give you a hint. It's from Manchester that we have next on our list. And that's right, you guessed it, it is Manchester United, the red half of Manchester for the two Manchester clubs. And I think that United is potentially, not many people are going to be tripling up like they will be City, as they have a little bit trickier of a fixture, obviously coming off a defeat versus Manchester City in the Carabao Cup. They do have an FA Cup fixture versus Watford, which I believe is at home as well, so that may give them a little bit of confidence going into the Burnley game. And if they beat Burnley, what more confidence and what more, kind of appraisal can you have to be sitting 3 points clear at the top of the league if they were to win that game? Because as it stands now, Liverpool have 1 game ahead of United, and they'll be wanting to win that game so they can go versus Liverpool knowing that they are 3 points ahead of Liverpool going into that fixture. Now, some of the assets that we're looking at here, Bruno Fernandes, the obvious one, who's risen in price dramatically this season, originally started at 10.5. We all thought, is that a bit too expensive? But he's been absolutely fantastic. Marcus Rashford, someone who's very good at home and hasn't been playing the greatest in the last, few games, has been getting caught offside quite a bit, but at least shows his intent and how he can make runs in behind. I think Burnley might be a trickier fixture, which is who they have in the Blank Gameweek 18. But I think for the double versus Liverpool and Fulham, he will definitely thrive in those games. He's done it versus Liverpool before, and I think Fulham will leave a lot of space for him to potentially get in behind as well. And the last one's kind of a bit of a toss-up if you wanted to triple on United. Some people are maybe looking at De Gea. Some people are potentially looking at just a United defender. I've gone with Harry Maguire in terms of like one of the players to highlight, just because I think he's definitely due a set-piece goal where he heads it in and they keep a clean sheet. And they could definitely do that versus Burnley as well. I can see United maybe winning 1-2-0. They might get a set-piece goal and Maguire nods it in. They might get a penalty by Bruno or something like that. Maybe Rashford gets taken down for it. That would be like kind of the ideal scenario. Now, United may concede versus Burnley because they have conceded recently off of 2 set plays versus Man City, although Fernandinho's was technically from open play, but it did stem from a set piece. And I think the United's defense hasn't been as great. If you wanted to go for someone who's potentially got a bit more creativity, you can go with the likes of Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who's been looking, slightly better in getting forward a little bit more often, got an assist in recent weeks as well. And if Luke Shaw was nailed on, I would say he would potentially be a shout there. However, the likes of Alex Telles is still there, and they're pretty much in rotation. Telles is probably likely to play versus Watford, but again, if there's any injury there, then you basically just go with the other one. It's kind of a similar situation how you have Jesus and Aguero. If one of them's out, you basically get the other one, assuming one of them is fit. But I think there's too much risk there. So I think Harry Maguire is probably the safe bet. One thing to note about Harry Maguire, though, is that he is on 4 yellow cards. And if he were to get one in the next one of the next 2 or 3 games, I think it's basically if it's against Burnley or Liverpool, if he gets a yellow card, then he's suspended for 1 game after that. So a bit of a risk there. Probably go for Wan-Bissaka, who's 0.1 cheaper and is more likely to potentially get an attacking return, because Maguire, every time he seems to head the ball, seems to go off target. But again, one can dream a Bruno corner into a Maguire header for what would be a good victory versus Burnley, who aren't going to be that easy to beat for United. And I wouldn't put the captaincy on any United player. I would definitely go for the likes of a City asset, probably Sterling, De Bruyne, or Aguero, if you have one of those players lined up for your free hit, wildcard, or whatever transfers you're planning on doing for Blank Gameweek 18. With that being said, for the 2 Manchester clubs, those 2 teams are pretty obvious. But what 2 teams have I chosen for kind of the less obvious ones, and some that may have some gems kind of hidden within their ranks? But let's take a look at the first one that I have lined up. Now, a team that is definitely on the rise is Arsenal. They have Crystal Palace at home, which is an FDR rating of 3, so you would think it'd probably be a little bit tougher, and I think it's potentially going to be a tough fixture for them personally, although Crystal Palace has been one of the worst defenses over the past 4 game weeks. Now, the players that I have highlighted is Alexandre Lacazette, Bukayo Saka, and Kieran Tierney. I think these are probably the 3 best ones that you can go with. Maybe Leno's unlucky not to get in with a shout here, but I think there are better goalkeepers in terms of just making saves and a potential for a clean sheet. I think Crystal Palace will probably score in this game, so you're kind of looking at Kieran Tierney's attacking output most likely. Bukayo Saka, someone who's been undroppable and is great value for his price, an enabler at 5.3 million. And Lacazette is someone who's been doing quite well for himself. I think he has 3 and 3 goals, that is, in the last 3 games. So he's been doing quite well, kind of playing that number 10 role, kind of the way Firmino plays for Liverpool, dropping in between the lines, dishing the ball off into the half space and then making runs into the box. And he's been doing quite well with his aerial prowess in recent times, getting crosses from the likes of Kieran Tierney and those sorts of players, and being able to nod the ball home. They also don't have a terrible run after game week 18. Newcastle at home's a decent fixture, and 19 for a single game weeker. So if you were to hang on to one of these players, wouldn't be terrible. Southampton away could be a little bit tough, and then Man United, well, they beat them in the first fixture at Old Trafford, 1-0, although it wasn't a great display from both sides, but it was still a display where they ended up victorious in that. And I think there are some players that could potentially, are also going under the radar as well, that probably are unlucky to not get on the 3 mentions that we have here. Aubameyang, somebody who is definitely quite threatening and good against teams that are, not considered a top 6 team. So you're looking at the teams that are in the bottom half of the table. He has notably scored a lot of goals versus the teams that are typically, relegation fodder or down the bottom of the table. Crystal Palace and Newcastle being 2 of those potential teams. So I would say Aubameyang is quite good, although he is a premium asset and would require a lot of funds for him. So I think there are better, attacking outlets there. Martinelli, if I knew he was a sure starter, would definitely be looking at him. And Rob Holding, who comes in at 4.5 million, potential clean sheet versus Crystal Palace and Newcastle maybe, is definitely on the cards, and he's gotten a 9-point and 10-point hole in his last 2 games, which is quite good for him, being so cheap. And I could potentially I have him in my team currently. I'm going to have him in game week 18, and I might just keep and stick with him, save myself a transfer and just run him out there versus Newcastle on the bench boost, because 6 points versus Newcastle at home, is that better than having like a Burnley defender versus like West Ham and the likes of I think Burnley also play Liverpool as well. And is it likely that Liverpool will score a couple of goals versus Burnley? Probably. Are they gonna, the likes of Lowton and Tarkowski and me maybe potentially gonna concede to West Ham? Potentially. So they might be looking at 2 to 3 points, whereas Holding could potentially come out with 6+ points, because he's usually in and among the bonus because his pass completion rate is so high. He progresses the ball quite well. He's a threat from set play, so could potentially be good there. And lastly, just to touch on Kieran Tierney, someone who's been, knocking on the door for a massive hole, and finally got one versus West Brom, and has been quite good when he has been fit. That's been his main trouble. He's basically Arsenal's version of United's Eric Bailly. Just somebody who, if he's fit, he's fantastic and does quite well, and basically kind of changes the way the whole team plays. But yeah, I think Arsenal could definitely be underlooked here, underappreciated. Me personally, I only have Rob Holding because I'm not free hitting, but I would definitely consider some of their assets in terms of what they can offer to the table. Kieran Tierney and Saka would definitely be 2 on my first choice list, because they're reasonably priced, especially Saka, who's a great enabler as a 5th midfielder going into the Blank Game Week 18. So let's take a look at the last team that you might be surprised by for Blank Game Week 18, that you might be missing out on in your free hit or potentially wildcard teams. And lastly, we have Newcastle up on the list. They have a pretty good run of fixtures. Sheffield United, the most notable one, which will probably have them for just 1 game week if you are free hitting. And Sheffield United haven't been great, and it's away from home. But Sheffield United just can't score. So I'm thinking a defender, maybe a double up with a defender and goalkeeper. We have Darlow and Yedlin highlighted here. Yedlin, since making his return back full-time in the team, has been taking his place back in the team over the likes of Jamal Lewis, playing in at right wing back. I believe he's capable of playing both sides, both right and left wing back or right and left back. He's very pacey, gets up and down the flank, very good at covering, and at 4.3 million could be a bit of a steal. And Carl Darlow, someone who's 3rd in saves, we mentioned him as our differential pick for the Blank Game Week 18 as a free hit option. I think he could definitely be the goalkeeper or go-to goalkeeper for some people. Some people are looking at Guaita, some people are looking at Leno, some people are looking at De Gea. I think this is as sure a clean sheet as you can potentially get for Newcastle. And if they don't keep a clean sheet, well, you only had him in for 1 week anyway. And I think he's definitely going to get some save points potentially, even if Sheffield United decide to shoot, which They don't often get chances to score anyway, but he's most likely going to keep a clean sheet, and a very cheap combo for around 9 million. From a defender that could potentially get forward and a goalkeeper that makes saves and keeps his team in it and gets them points in Carl Darlow could be quite good. In terms of attacking options, real thin pickings, you know, just not really much going on here. It's pretty much just Callum Wilson or bust. I don't think anyone else is that valuable. Callum Wilson at 6.5 million is proven to be basically the goal scorer for Newcastle. I think he's close to, like, if not 50% of their goals for the entire season. And basically when he doesn't play, they're pretty much out of luck, to be honest. But if you were to have these players going forward, even after Game Week 18, Game Week 19 wouldn't necessarily be a good bench boost option versus Arsenal away. Leeds at home could potentially be good for the likes of Callum Wilson. Everton away, again, they also concede goals too, so potentially a good Callum Wilson fixture there. But defense-wise, Leeds and Everton, probably not the teams you want to be keeping longer term. So the defense side of things, definitely a more free hit option, whereas Wilson could be more of a wild card option or just a general transfer in, because he's still a decent pick going forward. And if you're not bench boosting, he could potentially be somebody who you just kind of have and just play, maybe bench him for Game Week 19 and, you know, favor a double Game Week player instead of him. But overall, I think they could definitely provide some value. And I think just because it's Newcastle and they're, you know, haven't been playing good, and their manager, Steve Bruce, who doesn't, you know, inspire the most attacking football in the world, as it were, people are potentially overlooking how valuable they could be because they are playing Sheffield United, who, let's not, you know, not forget here, they've only gotten 2 points from the 17 games, or 16 or 17 games that they played, which is, I think, the worst start out of any team ever in the Premier League, or any top flight English team. So should be pretty easy points for Newcastle personally. A lot of people are overlooking them. I would certainly have them on my free hit team if I was free hitting, or potentially even a wild card or a transfer in. Fortunately, I have other fires to put out, and I have to kind of manage it around here, and I think it's a bit risky for a free hit personally this week, and I'm just going in with 7 players. But if you are free hitting, check out some of the Newcastle players. Even Lascelles, I also forgot to mention, is 4.2 million. He should be back for the game, and he is the captain of their team. So he'll be straight back in over the likes of Clark or whoever else is in the back three currently. Yeah, that's going to do it for the 4 teams that I've chosen for differentials, as well as the probably more known teams going into Blank Game Week 18. And that's going to do it for our free hit teams in Game Week 18 that I have chosen. If you haven't done so already, make sure to leave a like on the video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free to do. Go do it right now. Hit the subscribe button. It definitely helps out the channel, as well as turn those notification bells on so you can get more videos, more content, much like this one, as soon as it is readily available. Make sure to drop us a follow over on Twitter and Twitch. It's PilotFlame226 on those platforms. Links are in the description. We will be doing a stream over on Twitch on Monday of next week. That's going to be for the Game Week 18, Blank Game Week 18 deadline stream at 7 p.m. EST. We're going to be doing it the night before because the games start middle of the day my time, and I won't be home in time to record or start the stream up during the time that other FPL streamers might be doing it. So I'm going to do it the night before. Make sure so you can get all your worries and questions out and not have to worry about them come closer and closer to the deadline. And it's better to set your mind up and get things ready and sorted before, you know, you have to worry about as it gets closer and closer to the deadline. Oh, what transfers am I going to make? And you make them last minute changes for your free hit team, especially if you're on an important chip like a free hit, like a wild card. You have to get those things right. And I think it's always best to have those transfers set and done the night before. I had a bit of a panic on my Game Week 16 wildcard, changing things at the very last minute and whatnot. So I would suggest definitely stopping by the stream, 7 p.m. EST on Monday, and you can have everything sorted out there. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, take care.